Let's listen to that statement before we get you to comment on it, Srinath. Let's just play up that statement specifically on Apple.
I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday. I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India. You can build in India if you want to take care of India, because India is one of the highest tariff nations in the world. Now you got to build us. We're not interested in you building in India. India can take care of themselves. They're doing very well. We want you to build here.
Yeah, Srinath, what do you make of this? Take it away. You were talking about what you make of Trump saying and in fact telling Tim Cook not to make in India. What do you make of this statement?
I mean, it's a very clear bargaining message to India, saying that I would do whatever it takes to, because the Indian political system has been tom-tomming that Apple makes things in India. I mean, while the jury is still out, whether it is mixing the entire manufacturing or it's more value-added, just kind of assembling together. But I think he's hurting the very political narrative that India has been using about increasing manufacturing. So it's a clear signal to the negotiation deal that the Minister Goyal is leading, saying expect tough conversations. I think that's one for clear.
Okay.
And two, I think Trump is doing the, I think, very, very offensive, in-the-face negotiation. It is not tacit. It is not under the radar. None of those. And I think we'll have to take some signals. I think face saver is what is going to become more important in this negotiation. To me, the classic US-China deal in Geneva, when we all thought that they're going to almost attack each other and kill each other, kind of shows that while both of them want to be the global superpower, that they need to do a trade deal that kind of helps them keep their economy ticking. I mean, the reality is China is the largest outsourced factory for the US in the sense.
Exactly. So let me bring in Barnik here. Barnik, we have heard of media trials. We've not really seen media negotiations, but that seems to be on display right now. Now, if Apple doesn't make in India and doesn't make in China, and potentially perhaps, the next sentiment can be that Apple should stop making in Vietnam also, then where does Apple make?
So let's agree that the likelihood of Apple assembling iPhones in the US is pretty close to zero, right? I think this is not the first time that the Trump administration has spoken about Apple assembling in the US. In fact, if you look at after the Liberation Day tariffs, the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick went on television in the US saying he wants a lot of jobs in the US where people are screwing in screws into iPhones and gluing them together. Yeah. If you look at the economics of it, 2 points. One, if an iPhone were truly assembled in India, in the US, then the price to the American consumer would nearly triple. So imagine that you would have to start buying iPhones for $3,000 to $3,500. Right. That's highly unlikely to happen. Secondly, if you look at these capital investments to set up these lines and productions, it's a 3 to 5 year time horizon to move it from one place to the other. To be fair, even Apple has taken nearly 30 months to divert production away from China to India. By the time any decision gets done and by the time anything real happens, I think the Trump term will get over and you will have a new administration. So I think this has happened before. I think the message is directed towards Apple to encourage him to invest more in the US. Yeah. I think what they are really looking for is for Apple to make silicon, the Apple silicon manufacturing in the US, okay, which is why you can set up a $500 billion factory only to do silicon, and assembly factory is not a big capital equipment. So I think the Indians should not get afraid of this posturing on Apple. This is a separate set. This is Trump doing something to apply pressure on Apple to increase the investments in the US. But it's highly unlikely that you will have Apple iPhone assembly move to the US, at least not in our lifetimes.
All right. Srinath, do you concur? And like Barnik was saying, that $500 billion has been pledged by Apple in any case to invest in the US. But even if manufacturing were to hypothetically go back to the US, which seems mission impossible right now, it's very unlikely to create jobs, because eventually there's going to be automation, and that's going to defeat the very purpose of Make America Great Again and employment coming back to factories in the US.
See, I think the entire Trump narrative is mega and MAGA, right? I mean, he wants to make large mega statements saying that I'm putting Saudis investing $500 billion in AI in the US. Apple is going to put in $500 billion. I think these are all mega statements. His entire MAGA narrative of creating new jobs is a large question mark. But the reality is, he's a politician. He's playing to the gallery of talking about it's a zero-sum game. I don't care if India really gets beaten up, but the chances that I want to make my opportunity cost lower. So he's playing the true politician game, not necessarily the statesman game. So the answer in a long and short of it is, will Apple resist? I think there's an institutional independence that the US has. I won't be surprised if he really pushes them. Can he take them? Will Apple take them to Supreme Court? In the past, we have seen corporations take the government to the judiciary there to get free hand there.
All right, Barnik, we have reached out to Apple, but we haven't really received a comment from them. They haven't responded to our request for comment. But like you were mentioning, it seems more about posturing and getting Apple to invest more in the US. But does this also mean posturing for the rest of the world, that if Donald Trump is not able to convince an American company like Apple to make in the US, how is he going to go after Japanese and German companies to invest in the US?
So I think it is quite unlikely that the jobs which have left the US in the 80s are going to come back.
Okay.
So I think that's a reality. I think the administration is swimming upstream here. Maybe in some sectors like automotive, there can be more local additive manufacturing. Maybe in some of the newer age sectors, you will see more manufacturing in the US. But if you look at where manufacturing is headed in countries like Germany and Japan, a lot of it is already automated and within 3-4 years will be fully robotically managed, right?
Right.
So even if they come back to the US, you won't see any jobs created, as Sridhar pointed out, right?
Right.
So I think this is all about the politics. I think Trump is all about wins, right? In all of these cases, what you will see are a few trade deals. If you look at the substance of the deals, you will see that not major concessions will be given by either side on these trade deals, but enough will be done for the president and his administration to claim victory and move on, right? He is all about public wins. He's all about claiming victory versus really achieving anything substantive. So again, I am highly skeptical of any of these things really changing on the ground. There will be a period of turbulence. There'll be a period of statements. There may be Apple coming back and also committing more. Maybe publicly they'll say something, but on the ground, I don't think nothing much will change. India has nothing much to be afraid of. India should continue doing what it does, which is improving its ease of doing business, making investments more attractive, right? While India keeps on doing this, I think they should negotiate a trade deal with the US. There is a lot more for India to gain from a trade deal than lose.
Right.
To Sridhar's point, agriculture will never be something India will agree to, because on a principle of reciprocity, then the US has to agree to agriculture, and they are far more concerned about protecting their farmers. But on elements like electronics manufacturing, maybe some elements of auto components and auto manufacturing, India may have to give some concessions, but we should not be afraid. I think we have a large, vibrant industry. We do not need to protect our industries as much as we want to. So over a period of 5 to 10 years, we anyway need to reduce our tariffs across the board. Maybe this is a good trigger for us to do it across some sectors, right? Albeit with some pressure from the US.
All right, Barnik, thank you so much for your inputs this morning. Srinath, thank you. Pleasure having you both on News 9 every day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.